ladies, and welcome back to the channel. From the title of the video, you know it's going to be about wedding guest etiquette. My husband and I attended our niece's wedding yesterday here in Atlanta, and it was the most beautiful Italian spring wedding that I have ever been to. Most of the family was here from Boston and from Kentucky and from some other places. Even some people came from Germany, but the wedding was really just spectacular. And I'm going to be sharing some footage of some scenery from the location of the wedding in this video, so make sure you watch the video to the very end. Now, as for my outfit for today, I decided not to do a separate outfit of the day because what I'm wearing is just so simple. It is this linen striped top, and you ladies have seen this one before, and then I just paired it with these shorts that I got in Boston, Massachusetts a few years ago. I popped on this belt with it, but it is 90 degrees here in Atlanta, so I just decided to wear a pair of shorts and then this linen top. This is my outfit for today. Now, without further delay, let's jump into these 8 tips that's going to help you become the most elegant wedding guest of all time. Tip number 1 is to never turn up late at a wedding. Now, a wedding has a start time as well as an ending time. And the reason why there is a start time is because guests should be seated prior to the time when the bride and her court is going to come out. You should never be turning up at a wedding while the bride's court is coming down the aisle, and definitely not when the bride is coming down the aisle. I've even seen some weddings where if you turn up late and the court has already started to come out, then they will prevent you from coming into the wedding. So make sure that you never turn up late to a wedding. Try to arrive at least a half hour before the wedding is to begin. If the wedding is at 5 o'clock, then you should be arriving at the wedding no later than 4:30. And that way you can have the opportunity to maybe go to the ladies' room and to refresh your makeup or lipstick or what have you. You will have a moment and then you can actually go and be seated. So my first tip to becoming the most elegant wedding guest is to always be on time. Tip number 2, we're going to address what to wear and what to avoid. So let's start with what to avoid. When you are a wedding guest, we need to avoid at all costs wearing anything white. It doesn't matter how elegant it is. It doesn't matter how well fitted you look in the outfit. Never wear white to a wedding. The next thing you want to avoid is denim. Now, I know that some weddings can be a little bit more casual, say for example, if they are held at a beach, but we should never turn up in denim jeans or cut off denim shorts or jean jackets or anything like that. You should never turn up in denim at a wedding, even if it is a wedding that is casual. And so we need to have a modicum of self-awareness on what to wear to a wedding. So we want to make sure that we are not turning up in anything that is denim. Now, the next thing that you should avoid wearing to a wedding are dresses that are too short. So we always want to think about the length of our dresses. Now, with regard to wearing dresses that are elegant, sometimes, even though they're elegant, they could be a little bit too short to wear to an event like a wedding. So we need to make sure that we are paying attention to the length of our skirts and dresses, because it is not appropriate to wear anything that is too short to a wedding. The last thing I wanted to mention that you should avoid if you are invited to a wedding are see-through clothing. Now, you ladies know this one is a pet peeve of mine. I don't believe in wearing see-through clothing anywhere, to be honest. But never wear anything see-through to a wedding, whether it's a top or a dress or a pair of pants. Please avoid see-through items at all times. And the reason why you want to do this is because it's going to be distracting. It's going to be distracting to other people that are attending the wedding. And also, it's quite embarrassing for someone to turn up in something that is see-through. And it really just says that you just don't have any self-respect. So we want to avoid anything that is see-through. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about, I know there are many more, but these are just some of the things that I wanted to touch on that you should never wear to a wedding. High heels that are uncomfortable to walk in. So I talked about this many years ago in one of my videos, but you should never wear heels to a wedding or pretty much anywhere else that you cannot be stable in. Having to hold on to a railing or to lean against a fence is not a good idea. It doesn't look elegant, and it just says that you are not smart enough to wear a pair of shoes that you can actually gracefully walk in. Remember, ladies, being a woman who is elegant is also involving how you can move across the room. Walking with elegance is one of the most beautiful things that a woman can do. And especially if you are well dressed and you can walk with grace and you can walk with ease. And people are going to notice how elegant you look when you are not leaning or falling over or even having to sit down every 2 or 3 minutes because the shoes you are wearing are hurting your feet. We need to be reminded, ladies, that we should always wear shoes to a wedding that are not only comfortable for us to walk around in, but shoes that are not going to be where we should be leaning against the wall or hanging on to someone's shoulder or sitting down every 4 or 5 minutes, especially like a wedding that we attended yesterday that was in one of the most beautiful gardens that I have ever seen here in Atlanta. You need to be able to remain on your feet, ladies, for quite some time. So please avoid any shoes where you are going to be uncomfortable or having to need assistance to stand in. Now let's talk about some things that is appropriate to wear to a wedding. So what we should wear instead are dresses that are elegant. Now the wedding we attended yesterday was formal. So wearing a dress that is long is appropriate, but not one that is dragging the ground or having a train in behind it. So be discerning in the type of dress that you are wearing. Now, if it's a skirt, definitely be discerning as to the length of that skirt. But things that you should wear are, depending on the year, we need to make sure that if it's a spring wedding, that we try to fold in some of the colors that are springtime. For example, something that is yellow or pink or green is a beautiful color to wear to a spring wedding. So make sure that when you are choosing things to wear to the wedding, that you have not only chosen an outfit that is selective for the time of the year that the wedding is taking place, and also making sure that you choose an outfit that's going to be elegant and sophisticated. Now, my next tip is to don't overdo it with the accessories. When you are attending a wedding, wearing something like a pair of simple pearls with your outfit is going to be quite enough. But over accessorizing with bracelets that are dangling on your arm, or you've got necklaces that are just layered on top of necklaces. These are inappropriate for a wedding. Remember, ladies, we are at the wedding as a guest, not the bride. And so we need to scale back on the type of jewelry that we are wearing and how much jewelry is appropriate to wear to a wedding. So whenever you are choosing your outfit for the wedding, something as simple as some basic pearls or maybe basic gold earrings and a gold necklace is appropriate for attending a wedding. Remember, less is more when it comes to accessorizing. Now, in my next tip, I want to talk about table etiquette. Oftentimes at weddings, we are going to be sitting around a table with a lot of different people. Oftentimes it's going to be people that we don't know. So we need to know what conversations to have around the table to keep us looking and speaking elegant. So let's discuss a few of the things that you should never talk about or do when you are around the table at a wedding. Now, the first thing we should never do when sitting around a table at a wedding is to sit with our legs wide open. As a woman who is elegant, we should never plop down and just sit with our legs wide open. We should always cross our legs when we are sitting down at the dinner table, and we should always sit with our back straight. Sitting with your legs crossed and your back straight is not only going to make you look poised and elegant, but it's also going to help you to be able to turn from side to side and talk gracefully to the other guests that are around the table. So the first rule of thumb is to never sit with your legs wide open when you are attending a wedding. Now, the next tip that is a pet peeve of mine is chewing gum. Now, chewing gum is one of those things that I think people do that actually relaxes them, is what I've been hearing. And also, it is sometimes a way to freshen the breath. But however, there are things like mints that if you want to freshen your breath with, that will dissolve in your mouth, but be sure to get mints that are white and not those that are colorful. But chewing gum to me just does not look elegant. And definitely not doing it at a wedding. You are blowing bubbles and popping them. You're probably going to have gum stuck on the side of your mouth or even stuck on the front of your teeth. It is just not an elegant thing to do. So we want to make sure that we are avoiding chewing gum, and especially those types of gums that are containing fake coloring in them. Because the last thing you want to do is open your mouth to talk to the person next to you with a blue tongue. This is never elegant, ladies. So I would just avoid chewing gum altogether. And if you need a little mint or something, there are peppermints, there are these little white mints that you can put into your mouth prior to going into the wedding that will actually freshen your breath. But please avoid chewing gum at all times. Now, the next thing that you should not do when you are sitting around the dinner table is to place your elbows on the table. Putting your elbows on the table gives the impression that you are bored, that you are ready to leave, and it is just not a proper thing to do at a wedding. Place your hands underneath the table where your legs are crossed, and then cross one hand over the other one. But never ever put your elbows on the table, ladies, because this is going to show not only the person next to you, but if the bride and groom happen to pass by and you are sitting with your elbows on the table, it gives a strong impression that you are not enjoying yourself and that you are ready to leave. So please avoid putting elbows on the table at all times. Now let's talk about things that are appropriate to talk about around the dinner table at a wedding and those that are not. Now, the first thing that you should never do if you are around the dinner table at a wedding is start complaining. Now, this is something that I think comes natural for some people. They love to complain. And again, you're going to be sitting around some people that don't know you and that you don't know. And when you start to complain about people or things that this person has no clue as to who they are, this is a huge turnoff. And even if it is complaining about the type of work you do, this is something that is really a conversation killer. So never start complaining about your work or your children or pretty much anything. Weddings are meant to be joyful. They are meant to be times where there is happiness and there is shared happiness from the bride and groom that flows straight into the guests that they invited. So you want to show happiness when you are at the wedding. You never want to turn up complaining about your life. So that is tip number one, is to never complain when you are sitting around the dinner table at a wedding. Now, my next tip as to what you should not talk about around the dinner table at a wedding is to never talk about money. Never discuss your finances. These are conversations that are primarily private between you and your spouse or you and your significant other. So talking about how much money you have or do not have is not an appropriate conversation to have around the table. So please avoid talking about your finances if you are at the dinner table at a wedding. Pretty much if you're at the dinner table anywhere, but definitely if you are attending a wedding. Now, the last tip with regard to what you should not do at the dinner table is do not get into disagreements. Now, one of the things about talking about subjects that are positive is that you are less likely to get into a disagreement with another person. Never talk about politics or any topics that are very controversial. We want to make sure that our conversations are light, that they are enjoyable, that they can bring laughter and happiness around the table. So please avoid getting into disagreements at all cost. Now, let's talk about some things that are appropriate to discuss around the dinner table. And one of my favorite things is talk about travel. Talk about your favorite places that you've traveled to, or maybe somewhere that you want to travel to. Travel is such an interesting topic for millions of people, and you can never go wrong when you start to talk about travel, because most of the people that at least I know love to travel, whether it is in this country or outside of this country. Travel is a beautiful topic to discuss when you are around the dinner table. And another topic that is really great to talk about is going to be on the literary side. Talk about a book that you just read. Share a movie that was interesting for you to watch. So these are topics that open up great conversations that are about movies or a book that you've just recently read, and they're going to remain on the positive side. So we want to make sure that we not only have conversation around the table, but we want to make sure that the conversations that we do have are kept elegant. Now, my next tip is to don't ask to change your seat when you get to a wedding. Now, the bride and her team has carefully selected seats for the people that they want to be at the wedding and where they want to sit. And so never turn up and ask that you be moved to the front. If you are sitting in the very back of the wedding, just be grateful that you are attending the wedding. The bride is usually going to have her mother and father, and also the groom's mother and father sitting in the very front seats of the wedding. And my husband and I were also sitting in the very front seats of our niece's wedding yesterday because we are her godparents. My husband is her godfather and I am her godmother. So we were placed in the very front with the mother and the father of the bride. But never turn up to the wedding and try and change your seat and ask that you be moved to the front when the seat selections have already been made. This is a no-no, ladies, and it will definitely say that you are not elegant. Now, my next tip to becoming the most elegant wedding guest is never bring a +1. Now, when you are invited to a wedding and the bride and groom approve of a person that maybe you are dating or something like that, then that is okay. But never just turn up with someone like maybe a cousin, or maybe it's a best friend or a boyfriend that you went out with 2 or 3 times just because you don't want to be alone at a wedding. A wedding is planned in advance, and that includes the guest list. So if your +1 did not receive an invitation to the wedding, then it is not appropriate to turn up with a +1. So we want to make sure that if we were invited to the wedding alone, then that is how we show up at the wedding. And now my last tip for becoming the most elegant wedding guest of all time is simply to just have fun. Make sure that when you are attending a wedding, that you are having fun, that you are smiling, you are socializing. Yesterday, the wedding was so well planned that they had tables set up where we could play wedding bingo, and it was super fun. It was just something to do, to walk around to different tables and meet other people and play wedding bingo with people around the table. It's a conversation starter. So remember, ladies, to always have fun at weddings. This is what they're designed to do, to be enjoyable, to be memorable, to help you to meet other people. And so make sure that you never forget, if you are a wedding guest, to have a wonderful time. So those are all the tips I have to share in today's video. I hope you've enjoyed watching them, and feel free to share this video with anyone who you know of that may have an upcoming wedding to attend this spring and summer. And also, ladies, if you are just stopping by my channel for the very first time, my name is Teresa, and this channel is all about leveling up and becoming more elegant and more graceful. And if you are interested in that, then please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And also, don't forget to turn on your notification bell so that you get notified every time one of my videos go live. Thanks for watching, ladies, and I will see you in my next video.